now I want to just take a moment. We're going to talk about some of the financials of the church. Part of Vision Sunday is recapping and forecasting on the financial side, because there is this element to our church. We do this every year, and this is the part of our calendar that people jokingly call like the State of the Union episode of our church. But we're just going to get into some of the nitty-gritty and give you some clarity to what's going on in the financials of your church. So we've got a little video for you. Let's take a look at this video.
As we embark on this new year financially, let's take a journey through the numbers that shaped our church's mission and vision of the previous year. In 2023, our congregation rallied together, exemplifying generosity and compassion. We had a budget of $276,000. We gave as a church $218,719 to support our ministries and outreach efforts. In 2023, we spent $244,945. Each dollar allows us to function practically as a church, allowing us to meet together, but also supporting the mission of the global church by sending money outside our own walls to bless those in our church, community, and beyond. This spent money includes $22,165 added to savings over the last year. Yet, as we navigated the twists and turns of the financial landscape, we encountered challenges. In seeing these giving trends, we were able to adjust our spending and minimize our expenditures, all the while maintaining our goal to strategically save funds. Despite our best efforts, we faced a shortfall, ending the year with a deficit of $26,226. But in every setback lies an opportunity for growth. As we turn the page to 2024, we stand firm in our commitment to fiscal responsibility. Looking ahead, the council has diligently crafted a revised budget to better steward our resources. To adapt to economic challenges, the council has made tough decisions to reduce our expenses. This includes a 40% cut in support to Germany missions and Camp Amos, as well as trimming regular ministry costs. Additionally, our monthly contribution to savings has been adjusted from 10% to 5%. These measures are necessary to ensure responsible financial management. Our 2024 budget stands currently at $21,000 per month, with allocations as follows: 10% for extension tithe to our Foursquare denomination, 5% for savings, 43% for staffing, 33% for ministry, and 9% for missions and outreach. We share these insights with you to keep you informed about the state of our church. Your prayers for provision and thoughtful consideration of your financial partnership are greatly appreciated. We contend for you to look at how you can be a part of meeting the needs of Hub City Church as we strive to be on mission. Together we'll rise to the occasion, united in our mission to spread the good news of Jesus and inspire others to join us on this journey as ordinary people following an extraordinary God together.
Well, that's so awesome. I love that little video. It's dynamic in watching it. Some great information in that. We'll post that separately if you'd like to go back and watch that again, just to get all of that. We just threw a ton of information at you very quickly. And some highlights from that are exciting is that, our attendance has gone down since the COVID years, but our giving has been steady in that. And so we're seeing a greater participation and a greater generosity from the people that we have, which is exciting to see. Even though we did see a deficit this year, we are, like it said in that video, we're making adjustments and we're moving forward. I'm excited that we still value and put money aside into savings, right? Setting those strategic reserves aside for us so that we're ready for the future. But at the same time, this is something I'm really excited about. Nearly $40,000 went out our doors for missions and outreach. Things locally and globally. Can you just get excited about that wherever you are watching this, or put something in the chat just saying, woohoo, way to go, this is awesome. $40,000. That's almost 2 months of our budget going out the doors, right? We are all about the kingdom of God and expanding the gospel in and around this city and through this world, and that's what I'm all about. Right? And we've had to make some adjustments, and that deficit is just a reality. And so I don't want to sugarcoat it and be like, everything's honky-dory. We did function into a deficit. And so, yeah, we didn't hit our marks. We didn't hit our goals in those ways. So we've had to make some adjustments in here. But before we get into all of those adjustments, can we just make some more highlights? One is that of that $40,000 that went out the door, $6,000 of it came from our Advent giving. Our Advent giving that we do each year at the Christmas season, $6,000 going to practical needs, both globally and locally at the Christmas time. And within that, we saw way more participation. In 2023, we only saw 8 households participate. This year, I believe, tripled that participation. We saw way more involvement, way more people giving to this. And it's not just about the increase in monetary value. That's awesome. We should clap. We should get excited about that. But what is really exciting to me is the participation, right? That increase in participation, more people on mission together and generously supporting that is so incredible. Another thing that I'd love to highlight is that in our giving, we set aside resource money for being able to provide tools to equip you in your journey with Jesus. And so this last year, we gave away daily devotionals, we gave away journals, we gave away Bibles, we gave away books and other resources to give those things and put those things into people's hands. And I don't like charging for it. I believe we should use what we can to equip people to follow Jesus throughout the week, right? That's where you need to live it out. And there's a lot of great authors and resources out there that can help you grow in your relationship with Jesus. So I want to put those tools into your hands. And so we did that this year, right? All those things that I talked about. And I heard from our survey, back to our survey here, I had somebody respond about those resources and just their excitement about it. It says this: I was given a book about parenting, and I was able to read the entire book, and I loved it. Hub City Church does a great job equipping its members with resources that are relevant to what they are going through. That is my pastoral heart. I want to equip you with where you're headed. And that's what it's all about. That's only possible through your generosity, right? Because those books and resources cost money. And so we're able to use the funds that are given to be able to give those tools away. That's exciting. Another thing that we use the generosity for is locally we support 3 sports teams: a soccer team, a basketball team, and a Little League team. And on the jerseys, it'll say Hub City Church, which is awesome. A little promo, a little excitement in the community in that way. But we go above and beyond the sponsorship norm. We go and we buy trophies for the little players, right? So every little kid gets a little trophy. We give away little gift cards to the coaches, to the assistant coaches, to say, hey, coach, thanks for doing what you do. Thanks for loving these families well. Even though you don't go to our church, we just want to bless you. And so the church is providing those types of blessings, supporting those pizza parties, things like that. Things that aren't asked of the little leagues or the soccer leagues or anything like that. But we just go above and beyond. Why? Because we love those families. And I get a chance to be with those families during those practices and during those pizza parties and just be able to say, as the sponsor of Hub City Church, we just want you to know we love you, we care about you, we love young families in this community, and we're here. If you ever need anything, we're here for you. We support you. We want you to know the door's always open. And guess what, church? Here's something to be excited about. We have actually started to see some of those families check out Hub City Church. Pretty exciting, right? See that happening, the gospel and building the family of God, and it's good stuff. So as we look ahead to 2024, and we're on mission together, we're generous together in these ways. Obviously, as it said in the video, we've revamped the budget to $21,000 a month, which is a little bit more than what we've seen as a trend on our giving side of it. So there is a step of faith here as we're moving into this new year with $21,000 as the budget line. But I'll tell you what, I am believing that it is not too advanced, too scary, too far, and too impossible for us. You break that out, a church of our size, about 50 to 70 families. I mean, you're talking, for that $3,000 difference of what we've seen, you're talking $60 a household. Like, we're not that far off. 50 families giving $60 more. You're looking at, bam, there's the deficit that we've been talking about, right? But beyond that, beyond just a certain amount or beyond those certain numbers, yes, we are making cuts to some of the mission support that we've made. We're still supporting and still giving resource to those things, but we also recognize we had to redistribute some of our other funds to cover the ministry costs. We were doing a lot outward, but we need to also invest money into the discipleship of people inside of our walls, the people of our church. We also needed to invest some of our compensation funds towards support staff roles behind the scenes, not just me, the support staff roles. We're bringing on an office administrator, and we had been advertising that for a while. Well, we're bringing someone on in an office administrator role. We're bringing on a tech coordinator to oversee the production side of our church. Really excited about these things, really important parts of what we're doing, but just being open, being honest, this is where we're going. Now, all of those numbers are interesting to some of us, and some of us, it's just noise, and we're just like, get on with it, let's go, right? I get it. But this is a part of the functioning of a church. It's very practical, very real life, right? And where this ties in with our theme word of the year, being together, is this idea of being generous together. Think about it for a moment with me, right? Being generous together. When we talk about ministry and serving, we don't want somebody serving alone. We want them serving together. We don't just want somebody to do a project alone. We want them to be on a team. And the same thing with generosity. We don't just want a few people giving most of the money to support the mission of the church. Man, we want everybody involved. When you look at the scriptures, you look at the book of Acts, you look at the early church, people were generous, but it was generous together. They were on mission together, and they were generous together in that. And I would pray and ask and contend for you as you're looking forward into this year, what does your financial partnership with your church look like? And this is a part where this is between you and Jesus. This is you having a conversation with Jesus, praying about these things, praying for God to provide for his church, right? Praying for the provision. Absolutely. We want to see an increase so that we can serve more and bless more and resource more and expand the imprint and impact that we're having. Absolutely. But that's just not going to happen if people won't also prayerfully say, God, what is my role in being a part of that solution? What is my role in the financial partnership of my church? And it takes giving on purpose. Being generous together requires intentionality. It is a step of obedience. As you look at Scripture, to be generous is to be obedient. That is the nature of our God, and when he tells us to be generous, he's challenging us to obey those instructions, right? It's an act of worship. When you're generous, you're worshiping God with your generosity. It takes sacrifice. When you give to this, you take from something else. So it may mean at the cost of something else, you're going to be generous back to your church, right? It takes planning and budgeting and intentionality. For our family, it is the first thing on our budget. The very first thing when you look at our budget lines, very first thing there, giving to Hub City Church, giving to our church family, right? That is the thing. And that is our floor. Can I just be fully transparent with you? For our family, 10% or a tithe is our baseline. That's where we start. That is not the ceiling that we stop at. That is the minimum that we are going to go to. And then we go above and beyond that with special offerings and giving to families and giving to individuals and giving to people outside of the church and all of those things. We want to be generous in all those ways. But that tithe, that monthly 10%, going back to the church, that's a floor. But that took time. That took obedience. That took prayer. That took sacrifice. And it is something that we aren't just doing, and I'm not just telling you that, so it's not intended to be a humble brag, and it's not intended to make anybody feel guilty. It is intended to be transparent and say, whatever I'm asking you to do, I'm willing to do as well. I'm willing, my family's willing. It's something that we're teaching our kids when we give them allowance that they've earned for doing their jobs, picking up the poop and doing those things, washing dishes. You know what they do? They have to set aside their 10% that they're going to give to their church as well. And they're going to have their little tithe envelope, and they're going to put that money in, and they're excited to bring that over to church and drop that off. They're excited to give to these things, and it's a practice that we are teaching them now, and as they increase in getting new jobs and getting more money, and someday they'll work part-time at some place or some store or whatever, they will have learned this practice, this rhythm, this discipline, that as a disciple of Jesus, we give that back. We do this on a regular basis. We make this sacrifice. And it changes over seasons, and it goes, and it is flexible. My wife last year got a new job. And we sat down, and we had to revamp our budget, change some things. We're excited. New budget, new income, right? But first thing on the line, what is that 10% now? And that had to change because of our increase. Those things adapt and those things change, but it is all simply just this rhythm, this discipline, this practice as a disciple of Jesus, as a follower of Jesus. This is important to us. It's what we're passing on to our kids. And as a pastor of this church, it's what I want to pass on to my church family too. I want to encourage you to participate in this, be a part of this. And I understand that this is something that can be kind of a sticky wicket for people. This can be struggle for people. This can be awkward for people. And this can be a challenge because giving from 0% to 10% seems like climbing Mount Everest financially. You're like, Sean, that's impossible. And so maybe this year is going from 0% to 3%. And that's going to be a challenge for some. But it's a step and it's a move in that direction. Or maybe it's going from 4% to 8% or 8% to a 10% or whatever it would be. But I tell you what, it's going to take time. It's going to take prayer. It's going to take planning. It's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take intentionality. It's going to take you saying, God, what does it mean for me to be obedient in this? What does it mean to be a participant in this? And to be on mission with my church in this? What does God want to teach me? What we're trying to teach our kids and what I'm trying to teach our church. Jesus doesn't just want a percent. So if you get locked in on this and you're hearing this and John just wants 10%, you're missing it. Jesus wants your heart. And he understands that our hearts are often tied and captive to our finances. Our money holds us tight, holds a tight grip on our hearts. And I want to give 100% of my heart to Jesus. And in order to learn how to do that, sometimes I've got to be willing to give in ways that are going to cost me, in ways that are going to be a sacrifice. And I got to be willing to navigate through that. Giving regularly, proportionately, and practically helps me grow as a disciple of Jesus. It helps us grow as disciples of Jesus. Yes, it makes an impact. We get to see those funds be used to do amazing things for the kingdom of God. But in the process of that, we grow as disciples as well. And that's what excites me when people start getting on board with this. When I hear about a new donor or somebody increasing their giving, I'm not excited about the budget. I'm excited that the disciples of our church are growing and maturing and developing. That you've had a conversation with Jesus to a point where you're like, Jesus, maybe this is the next step for me. I'm going to be a part of this. I'm going to take this step of faith. I'm going to take this step of obedience. That's exciting. I get excited watching my kids take a step of obedience. I get excited watching my church take a step of obedience. Last year, we had people, right, say yes to following Jesus. I was excited. That's a step of obedience. I saw somebody get water baptized. I was excited. That's a step of obedience. I saw people join serve teams. That's exciting. It's a step of obedience. That's awesome. And when people participate and generously give to their church, I get excited, not for the budget and not for what I get out of it and not for the reports at the end of the year. I get excited because the disciples of our church are developing and growing to be more like Jesus, developing the heart as Jesus would have them. And so this year, I want you to think about that word together. Whether it is through the generosity aspect, whether it is through the serving aspect, whether it is through just the participation and being involved in what your church is doing and the ministry of your church, it is about being on mission together, right? But all of it is about doing these things in a way that is united and moving forward and of one heart and one purpose and one kingdom, one mission together. You're going to hear that word a lot this year. We're to bring it up. I'll probably put it on some t-shirts for us at some point, right? Or stickers or something. You're going to see that word. You're going to hear that word together quite a bit this year. But that is our word for 2024. As we think about 2024, think about that word together.